I have a couple questions here that everybody was asking me, and majority of the people were interested. What age did you start bodybuilding?
Well, I was 14, so that I'm almost 73 now, so that's almost 60 years.
What was the major reason for you to start to get in sport?
I just felt the need to do something individual rather than team sports so much. I mean, I tried team sports, but I really felt like I could do a better job if I did it myself, and I was right. Bodybuilding was perfect for me.
So who introduced you to bodybuilding? How did you?
I saw pictures in the magazines.
That's
I
how
used to
everybody
go to
knows.
Backdate magazine shop and get these magazines. I saw these guys, then I started reading about it, studying it, trying the routines, bought a set of dumbbells, worked out.
Now, why did you decide to compete? What age?
17.
17, so it's been 3 years after you started.
Uh-huh.
How was your first contest?
First contest was an open novice contest with 50 people in it. And I placed fifth, which was encouraging, especially because Bob Hoffman was there. You know, in those days, it was weightlifting all day, Olympic weightlifting, and that night was the physique contest.
Mm-hmm.
And Hoffman was backstage watching me pump up. And he came over to me and he said, "Young man, if I had a physique like yours, I'd walk around with my shirt off all the time." And right then I knew that I could be great. I mean, it's funny,
Right.
when you hear things like that, and it's what you needed to
Yeah.
hear to keep going. And
Yeah, I
Next
get those
show.
sometimes too.
a couple months later, I placed third in Teenage Mr. America, won my first trophy.
How about, what do you think about bodybuilding today? How do you see it today, and what the difference is between golden era bodybuilding and the bodybuilding that is on stage right now?
Well, bodybuilding, I like the process of creating something new, of developing your body, changing it, having it look the way you would really like it to look. And maybe some of these people today in bodybuilding really want to look like that because that's the look they're portraying. I personally, not to my taste. I don't like it. I wouldn't want to be like that.
People asking about vacuums. It's something that you don't see anymore on bodybuilding stage. You know, you see more of a gut and, you know, big stomachs.
It's hard to do it at 40 inch
Yeah, absolutely.
That's full of food.
How was that back in the day? How people were eating, or how was the vacuum training? Was something involved in every single day exercising? What kind of?
Basically, there's a need for that when you're posing for your front shots, because let's say you do front double bicep. You could either do it with a vacuum or with abs, because if you don't, you're going to have nothing happening in the center part of your body. You have to show detail everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Abs do that. I mean, look at the great ab shots you have with the double bicep.
Mm-hmm.
Vacuum does that too. Like Arnold never did, didn't have much in the way of abs. I mean, he
No.
did some, but he would do his front double bicep with a vacuum. He had a great vacuum.
Yeah.
Mike Bench had a good vacuum too.
Yes, absolutely.
Bill Pearl had a good vacuum. They did dumbbell pullovers across the bench. Arnold didn't, but those guys did. I did. That's how I got it.
That's-
a lot of pullovers, lying over the bench.
And you sucking your stomach while you're holding the dumbbell overhead.
Well, actually, that part of it came from practicing the pose, pretty much, pulling in the stomach. You got to be hungry. And I had a method that I found myself, I didn't say I'm going to do this, I just found myself doing it. And as the contest got closer, what I found myself doing was staying hungry longer. Not eating every hour, every 2 hours, just staying hungry longer, and then I would vacuum. I also would play wind instruments too, like I'm a harmonica player. I would do that. You play better when you're hungry, you do.
Do you think practicing vacuums also help to keep your waistline smaller and
Yes.
tighter?
Yeah. Anytime you tense your abs, you know, you're doing something for it in that manner. But I did a lot of ab work too.
You don't. So I heard people say, oh, if you do a lot of ab work, because nowadays bodybuilders don't do much of ab work for some reason. But they're saying, oh, if you do too much abs and too much exercises in your core, your waist is going to grow. What do you think of that?
Depends what you do. If you do sit-ups with a 50-pound plate, yeah, it's going to grow, especially the upper abs attached to the rib cage, and you'll have a protruding weight. But if you load up with 10,000 calories a day and squat real heavy, you know, your waist is going to grow too. I mean, there's a lot of ways to make your waist grow. And that's one thing I didn't like about my physique, is when I got heavier, there was a year that everybody told me I need to get bigger, need to get bigger. So in 1982 I did. I wanted to weigh 200 for the Olympia. And I did, and I lost. And I looked at the photos, I was too smooth. My waist was bigger. If I were 10 pounds less, I would look way better, way better.
You're
You
probably
have
one
these
of
things in your mind.
you're probably one of the lightest Mr. Olympia ever. Wait,
Yeah, well,
you wanted what, 192 pounds?
let's see, first year I think I was what, 187, 77, 185 in 88 and 78.
That's amazing.
And 191 when I won it the third time.
This guy's right now 280, 260 pounds on stage, 240. Crazy.
It's all a matter of taste.
Yes.
And there's no accounting for taste. So I can't say that's bad. I mean, that's what they like. And there's people that like that too. A handful of them. There's not many of them. Less and less as time goes on.
What kind of nutrition, were you staying on something the same over the years, or something that you found worked for you and you just stayed on it, or
Yes.
you changed
I found
nutrition?
what worked and stayed with it. And it was basically high protein, low carb, not a real low carbohydrate diet, but not as much carbs as protein, and a moderate fat to low fat diet. And so I'd always get around 100, about a gram of protein per pound of body weight. This is what I do now. I mean, then I got a little more protein than that when I was competing. Half that amount in fat and carbs. So if I was getting 200 grams of protein a day, it'd be 100 grams of carbs. Enough for energy purposes.
How did your cardio look like throughout the year? Let's say you were in the off season. Were you still sticking to the cardio? Because a lot of guys, when they're off season, they do zero cardio.
I always do
Absolutely.
some.
There's more. I've been reading a lot, and I've been doing a lot of it myself about red meat. And there's a lot of bodybuilders like Arnold. He's a big advocate of eating a lot of red meat. What's your take on that?
I was too. I grew from eating red meat. I used to eat a lot of steak. Don't eat it anymore. You know, my goals now aren't to build big muscles so much as to last, and anything that makes me feel uncomfortable. Like what thing about red meat is it's got connective tissue and it goes through you very slow, and it gets stuck in there.
Yes.
It's easy to get constipated eating a lot of red meat, so I don't need it. I basically rely on fish and turkey.
They have very light sources, and they go through your body very quickly, and you'd feel lighter.
They don't hang up.
Yes, absolutely. What do you think about aesthetics, and what defines aesthetic body? Because you're at the definition. If somebody's talking about aesthetics, it means they're talking about Frank Zane. How do you see it in your own words? How did you create what you thought is going to be what you are right now?
Well, I had my idols that I wanted to look like Steve Reeves primarily, and then later on Larry Scott, and got to know them too. That's one thing I love about my career is I met everybody, and I trained with a lot of them too. So I've the experience of that. My aesthetic would be characterized as symmetry and proportion, not overly big, good lines to the body, postures of excellence in posing. And the way I developed it was by taking tons of photos over the years. You go into contests, what's important? How you look. What do? They look at you. So I figured, why don't I just focus on that? This other stuff doesn't mean anything. How much you weigh, what do you measure? It's what it looks like. And so I got many, many, many photos, especially when I was preparing for competition. And I saw what needed to be done and what was there. So when I got on stage, I knew what I looked like, and I could push that to the audience. I could project that. The worst thing is going into a show and not knowing what you look like. You'll find out at the show.